Hello and welcome to Columbus Local Podcast. I am Len D'Amico and this is episode 54. Today we have David Blosser. David, thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for having me, Len. I appreciate it. And I guess right out of the gate, let me apologize for having to reschedule our little get together.
Oh, it's no worries. No worries at all.
Good. I appreciate that. I appreciate being invited back.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I think we were trying to get something pulled together in the fall, and you're not the only one who's had to reschedule, so don't feel bad at all.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we all have busy lives, and we got to do what we got to do, man.
Absolutely.
But I'm glad you made it in tonight. And geez, episode 54, I can't believe it.
Congratulations,
That's
54.
Crazy. Yeah, well, and David is the drummer for Phoenix Rising.
Yes, sir.
One of the top rock cover bands that we see playing all the clubs around the Columbus area. That band, it really has a really interesting history as well. When did you come into Phoenix Rising, and how are you feeling about the progression of the band?
Well, right now, I couldn't be happier to be a part of Phoenix Rising. I joined the band probably about 5 years ago. And when I joined, it was Don and Richard, and I came in and we immediately started looking for a vocalist. And so we auditioned a bunch of people, and at that point, we brought in Cassie. A lot of people are friends and know Cassie. And she came along and she was just great. We did that for, about 8-9 months. And that was really during the COVID time. And, a lot of interesting gigs were going on those days. You started at 7 and you would end at 10:30 and you were home before midnight. And so that was quite a change from, the regular 8 to midnight or, even to 12:30 or 1 in some cases.
Yeah, and the tear down and then the load in, reload, and late night breakfast, whatever.
Oh, absolutely. And so, during the COVID shows, that's, really where we were playing a lot, and we really got comfortable playing with each other and having an idea on, the familiarity that you get when you play with people for a number of months, and it just starts really clicking, and it just kept progressing and progressing, and couldn't be happier, to be honest. Love those guys. Right now, the lineup is Kelly Rush, Dave Lynch, and Richard Dell, and myself, and I honestly, I could not be happier. Kelly is just an amazing singer, amazing leader, and she's just very driven and always has great ideas and is looking forward to the next big event. And Dave and Rich, they are phenomenal musicians and absolutely no ego whatsoever. Just a pleasure to be with them.
That definitely reflects in the performance. I mean, everyone just clicks right side by side. What a great band.
That's good to hear. Thanks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the material too, is really, I think, progressed to a broader audience. Maybe
it really has. When we started, it was very heavy material, and we've really progressed and opened up the set list to a much more diverse group of songs. And you can dance to them, and the way that we position the songs, I think it's a good mix. We start out, we're not doing the dance stuff right away because, nobody's really in the dance mood right at 8 o'clock. You need a few drinks in maybe, and then everybody kind of loosens up. And so we put all the dance stuff really in the middle, early, middle, and then kind of late middle, just to keep people out there dancing and keep everybody happy. And that's really what it's about.
Oh, yeah. For sure. And, recently, Beth and I came to Fenders and saw a show, also at Turtle Creek too, but the Fenders show was absolutely packed. And the band was tight, I think probably feeding off all that energy, but it was really, Kelly in particular had not sounded I mean, I've always respected Kelly. I've always respected Phoenix Rising as a band, right? I will say that, you know, beyond that, the performance that night was just incredible. That was the most recent performance. You guys have really, 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 really come to advancing every level. You know, it's good to see.
That's phenomenal to hear as well. I mean, we do put a lot into the show. We put a lot into, you know, rehearsing and knowing the material and trying to present, you know, the best show that we can. And again, you know, picking the songs, you know, that's going to help that. You know, we're not playing all Rush songs. We're not playing all Tool songs. And so, you know, you got to play to the masses. And I think we've really done that over the last few years. Changed things up, added a lot more female vocalist type material that Kelly can really just shine.
Get behind and,
oh,
and
absolutely.
Shine through. Yeah, for sure.
And speaking
That's
of that,
good that you guys do that, right?
Yeah.
You're getting behind your front person and, you know, embracing that wheelhouse.
Oh, absolutely. You have to. You cannot, like, I can't go to Kelly or the band and just say, we're going to play all my favorite songs. No, that's the very last thing. First of all, Kelly has to be able to sing it and she has to feel it, you know, and from there, then, you know, we start looking at, oh, is this a doable song? Because to be totally honest, most of the people out there, they don't really care what I'm doing on the drums. They just want to hear that chorus. They want to hear that line. And they need to hear it in key and powerful and with passion. And Kelly does that. Kelly's amazing. You got to get Kelly in here. Kelly, you got to get in here.
Kelly knows she has a open invitation. But you know, I do respect the fact that not everybody wants to do a podcast episode. You know, it's not an easy thing to do necessarily for everyone. There are a lot of drummers though that want to do it, which is cool.
We like to come
but
from...
there's some front folks and there's some guitar players too, because I've been acquainted with a few of those guys over the years.
Well, a lot of us drummers, we're dying to get into the front, you know. We're so used to being in the back, in the shadows, and this gives us an opportunity to speak and to kind of be heard and to let people know what we're doing.
Yeah, and what you guys are doing though is stemming from just a vast experience base from each of you, you know. I mean, Richard in particular, you know, he's got just a great history. David on guitar. Again, another jewel in the city of guitar players. I mean, he's just solid as a rock.
Yeah.
And then Kelly herself, I mean, fronting the band, she manages the band, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And, you know, provides a lot of direction and leadership, obviously, and has the respect of everybody in the band and vice versa. And then you have just a great history that I think we'd like to learn a little bit about, David.
Well, all right. I can provide some details there. Really digging this band, and I think I told you earlier that for me this is one of the probably one of the best bands I've ever been in. Zero ego, zero drama. It's all fun and it's all really good.
As it should be.
Yeah.
You're so fortunate.
I am beyond
everyone's fortunate.
Yeah,
but it's not always accident, man. It really is a series of decisions along the way, don't you think?
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. And getting along and everybody being really on the same page with each other, I think is a big key as well. And I believe we're all on that same page and we all have the same direction and all the same goals, and we love performing, we love playing, and we really get along well. And so again, I mean, I couldn't be happier. So very thrilled, very blessed to be with these guys right now, and hopefully they feel the same.
I think they most likely do. I mean, just the vibe from the shows, man.
Cool.
You guys have a strong brother and sisterhood for sure.
Cool. Good to hear. Good to hear. Well, I guess kind of going back to my beginnings. I guess I started really like a lot of people did my age, where somehow one of my older brothers ended up with Kiss Alive and Kiss Alive 2. And I'm at the ripe age of 8 years old. And so for all of you out there that have opened up that Kiss Alive 2 album and have seen that stage and the fire, that's what did it for me. And from then on, I mean, they were like superheroes, right? And I'm 8 years old.
Oh, yeah. I can share that experience.
Oh,
for
absolutely. It was incredible. And, later on in my life, I ended up being Ace Frehley a few times for Halloween. And I guess, I'll still dance around anytime I hear Kiss, old Kiss. And I'm an Ace Frehley fanatic. I will air guitar all his solos all day long if I could. But yeah, other than that, that's where I really got my start. And I have three older brothers, and one of them brought home a drum set. And again, around this same time with Kiss and with drums in the house, I just kind of started taking over, and that was pretty much when I was 8 years old. And then when I was 9, I started in the elementary school band, working on snare drum and getting lessons and doing those kind of things. And I did, band through school, through elementary, through middle school, and through high school, and even into college. Did all the, concert band, did marching band, percussion ensemble, pep band, all those fun things, which really gives you a great discipline and a good understanding of music, I believe. And, I think that's really, really helped me along the road.
Excuse me. Yeah, no, that's interesting too, and it's interesting too that Ace Frehley, or Frehley, I think is what he pronounces, but he was very inspirational to so many people across the globe. I'm just curious, were you drawn to the guitar or the drums? How'd that come to you?
Well, I think at first I was drawn to the guitar because we would kind of get together with some of the neighborhood friends and, have tennis rackets as guitars and kind of stand. And, I'm like 7 or 8 years old at this time. And, it's whatever music the older siblings had that we could get a hold of, that we would all just kind of try to be a band. And from that point on, it really just kind of stuck with me. I did want to be Ace Frehley. I still want to be Ace Frehley secretly. But drums is where I really fell in love with that particular instrument. And, from age 8 on, it was all drums. Playing on pillows and those kind of things.
Was that in Columbus?
No, I grew up in Athens, Ohio, where Ohio University is, and that's where I was, and that's kind of where I got my start with music in the Athens program, and growing up through all that. You're really doing mostly drums, and so once I did graduate from high school and went into college, I didn't really have a lot of that music theory background. I obviously could read music, I could read drum notation, but there wasn't a lot of keyboard activity. So like marimba or xylophone or the vibes. So we didn't really do a lot of that. And then once I got into college, of course, I'm now expected to play 4 mallets, and I can barely even play 2 mallets, much less 4. And so as a percussion education major, you also had to have a secondary instrument, and you had to be a pianist. And so I suddenly, coming out of high school, I'm a drummer, and now I'm playing piano and playing 4 mallet marimba stuff, and was incredibly difficult, incredibly challenging for me because I was a drummer. I wanted to be a drum set player, and I wanted to go to college to learn that. And I eventually I got to about a junior, and then I ended up leaving that because some of the experiences that I had prior to that, like right out of high school, I was fortunate enough to get an audition to be the house drummer at Caesar's Pocono Palace in Pennsylvania, and I got the gig. And right out of high school, I'm there and I'm playing on this big ginormous red drum set.
Wow.
Double bass kicks, playing, a lot of pop, some rock, a little bit of everything. And it was really a show band kind of situation. And the leader of the band, if you recall, and I'm going to date myself a little bit here, but if you recall The Tonight Show with Doc Severinsen, the trumpet player.
Yep.
So the leader of the band played a lot like him. I mean, just the trumpet was just outrageous. And so just an amazing musician. And it was very interesting coming right out of high school, going into that. Really, I did that for about 3 or 4 months and really ended up kind of being a scared little chicken from Athens, Ohio, that was now, in this big time situation. The red velvet, if you can imagine,
like
full red velvet rooms.
Man.
It was quite an experience. And
So did you live in the Poconos while that was happening?
yeah, I did.
Wow.
So this resort, it's a couples only resort. And so you couldn't really have, like a 18-year-old long-haired guy just walking around the area. And so you were pretty much in your room. And there was some interesting things going along there. There was a couple of car rides that I had to take with the leader to go pick up money from hot dog stands. I mean, just some interesting stuff. That, as an 18-year-old coming right out of high school, just really blew me away and kind of frightened me a little bit, to be honest. But what an experience. I was able to, grow from that, really, and came back to Athens, and that's when I started to go back to school. And at the end, kind of decided, well, I got this great audition and I got that gig. I guess I don't really need a degree in music to do these things. And so that's when I decided to kind of change gears and do the business management kind of situation. And so I did that and just, always continued to play. But yeah, as far as school goes, I went to about junior year in percussion education, and it just, the theory, the mallet playing, the piano playing was too challenging for a drummer from Athens, Ohio. And so it made it very difficult for me to continue that route. And I also kind of decided I didn't really feel like I wanted to teach, this is how you hold a stick. This is how you, play singles or doubles or paradiddles for the rest of my life. And now I'm kind of like wishing, well, I'd really kind of like to do that, to be honest. But, lesson learned, you live and you learn, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so, did that kind of thing, and then really kept playing and was in a number of different bands, as I was growing up. One of my favorite bands was an all-original band, and we were kind of prog guys at that time. And I'm a music nerd, and so my friends were also music nerds, and so we really wanted to make the most difficult music that we could possibly make. So a lot of people, kind of looked at the music as it was Rush meets Black Sabbath meets Jane's Addiction, which was, if you think of all those styles kind of thrown in together, that I would go see that band.
Yeah, and this is in the 90s?
It is, okay. Yeah, very early 90s.
Influential.
Oh, yeah.
Acts that you were talking about.
Yeah, and so we played. We were together I played on and off with the guitar player since I was in middle school, and so he's like a brother to me, Derek. Whitlatch. He's like a brother to me. And so we were in a number of bands together, but this particular one, it was called Sylph. And we actually played at the Alrosa Villa for a battle of the bands many, many years ago. And but the band itself, it was just a lot of fun. It was all selfish music. It was prog. It was as difficult as we could possibly make it. Most songs were 5-10 minutes long. We had a few even longer songs, but again, it was very selfish, and it was a growing period for all of us. And that's really where I learned a lot of the music theory that I had been lacking as I was growing up in the elementary school, middle school, and high school kind of stuff. But the interesting thing about some of that music is, like I said, we tried to make it as difficult as we could. And so, for example, I think one song, we wrote a lot of odd time songs, and one was in 5. And one of the things that I did was, so I would have to try to make the audience feel the beat a little bit. So if it was in 5, I would play like the backbeat on 2 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 2 and 4 again, which is your classic, bass drum on 1, snare on 2, bass drum on 3, snare on 4 kind of mentality to try to bring in the listener. And so what I like to do was kind of mix things up or displace some of the notes. And so during a guitar solo, instead of playing the downbeat on 2 and 4, I would play it on 1 and 3. And so again, to make things as difficult as we could with each other, we never did anything, in 4s or a common number. So we might play the 2 and 4 3 times, and then the 1 and 3 3 times. And so, you might get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, and just switch it around like that. And it gives a really interesting feel for not only the musicians, but for the audience. And as I said, it was kind of selfish indulgence with just trying to make it as difficult on ourselves as we could, which we were successful in doing that. And so that's a good example.
And this was in Athens, right?
This was in Athens,
Ohio.
Yeah,
that's a real incubator of music.
It is
that area of Ohio.
A lot of acoustic stuff going on, but again, just a melting pot of so much, which was really great growing up in, and one of the things that I liked about that band was we had almost 4 hours of original music, and it was all crazy stuff, and somehow we could remember playing that, and we even did the Alrosa Villa Battle of the Bands, and came in second place. And I remember,
man, I was going to ask you.
Yeah, I remember because we were coming up from Athens, and the band that we went up against was a Columbus band, and there was a major snowstorm, and so none of our friends or anybody could come to the show because it was, it's a 2-hour drive.
Weather.
It was horrible weather, and they weren't going to drive 2 hours there and then back. And so we really didn't have anybody in the audience, and it was really about audience participation and getting the audience, going. And the other band just, they had all their followers here, and they just killed us with that. And what's really interesting is one of my old coworkers, Holly Wilson, her husband was in that band. And recently, I think it was within the last 5 years, I learned that her husband was in that band that beat us. And when I learned that, as soon as I learned that, I said, I want a rematch. But,
That's cool.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. So yeah, that's a big part of my music, because I really got into odd time signatures and a lot of that complicated stuff that my favorite band, Rush and Tool, they do that stuff night and day. And so that was a big inspiration for me.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and it shows even today, man.
Cool.
So you're doing some of that material.
Yeah,
with Phoenix Rising?
we put in we have a couple of Rush songs that we do, and we'll pick and choose. Put one in. Sometimes we'll do both, which is really cool too. Actually, I remember I think it was like a year and a half ago. I think we were at the Ugly Mug maybe, and we did both of those Rush songs within the first 4 or 5 songs. And then when we did this break, so during intermission, this gentleman came up to me and just put his driver's license right in front of me. And, I'm just like, what's going on? And all I could see was the last name was Peart. And I'm like, what? And he goes, my great uncle would have been thrilled with that performance.
Wow, man.
And that just blew me away. And then actually later, a few months later, I had reached out to Nancy, which is Neil's sister, for a different matter. They were doing a charity event, and I donated some money to that. But I was speaking with Nancy, and I said to her, this gentleman approached me with the last name and everything, and she was able to say, well, yeah, they are absolutely no relation to our family. And so I was crushed.
Yeah, I'd say, man.
Yeah.
I'll say.
Yeah. And we were.
It's good to know the truth, though.
Yeah, it is. But that night when he told me, that was like I was like pulling all my friends over, like, look at this guy.
Absolutely.
But again, I probably looked pretty silly at that point.
No way. No way.
Yeah. So that was a fun experience. But yeah.
Very cool. So Athens, Battle of the Bands in Columbus. What did you do next from that point?
So I guess really after college, my girlfriend at the time, Jessica, who's my wife now, we decided to go to Chicago, and my wife was going to be an accountant, and she had a job lined up right out of school, and we wanted to make Chicago our home. And, I talked to the band that I was in, that the prog band I was telling you about, Sylph. Everybody came along but our lead singer, which is all, totally understandable. And so instead of being a prog band with vocals, we were now a prog band instrumentalist. And that doesn't go over very well at all. Prog music at the time didn't go over very well, but when you took out the singing, it didn't go over very
Really
well.
did it.
Yeah. But again, it was all that crazy odd time music, very long songs. We readjusted everything to try to make it a little bit easier on the listener, but we had to learn our lesson the hard way. And, we had a few gigs where there was like absolutely nobody there. And in Chicago, you kind of have to pay to play. So you have to sell your tickets to get people to go there. And if you don't sell any tickets, well, not only do you not have anybody there, but you don't get paid.
Show.
Right. There's really no show, and you're there performing. And if you're trying to make a living and a go out of this, that's not going to work.
So you're learning these lessons in Chicago, of all places, man. That's a big city.
It's a very big city.
Compared to where you were, right? I mean,
Oh yeah, coming from Athens, a very
Athens
small,
is so gorgeous.
small college town. Yeah, oh, it's very gorgeous. It's beautiful there, and we were really a bar band that we felt we had a little bit more to offer, and we wanted to give it a go and see what happened, and we gave it a go, and we saw what happened.
Yeah.
Sadly, I guess.
So did you stay together? Did you look for maybe someone to
We
front the band?
We tried to find singers, and we ended up bringing somebody on. They didn't work out very well, and long story short, after you try for really hard for a good year and a half, trying to find vocalists and trying to find your footing. It just was getting way too difficult for us to do this. And so the band pretty much split up at that point, and I'm still close with everybody. And every now and then we'll do a reunion kind of show, and we'll get together and we'll try to play as much as we can. And we're probably about due for that right now. But Yeah, at that point, I switched gears completely and went from a prog band to more of a folk band. And so I was playing with this artist. Her name is Maria Hines, and she just had such a beautiful voice and played acoustic guitar with it, and it was just so different from what I had been doing. And so that was perfect for me. So I could kind of sit in and play more pocket, be more of a Charlie Watts kind of drummer, and just really get into the groove. And I loved that. I mean, it was so much fun. The tunes, the melodies, the interesting places to play, coffee shops all around Chicago. We played around Wrigley Field. A lot of fun. But my heart was more in rock and roll and prog and stuff. And so I don't burn bridges. I don't believe in doing that. And so I still keep in touch with Maria, and she knows anytime she gets a recording or she's going to do something, she'll probably give me a ring, hopefully.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, you never want to burn any bridges.
No way.
And not just with musicians, but just period in life, because you never know. So did that for a bit, learned a lot going, to a very different genre. And kind of did that. And then we ended up moving back to Ohio, and we got married and started our family here in Dublin.
Awesome. And you guys are in Dublin now?
Correct. Yeah, we're still
raising your family there.
We did. We've been back, almost, I'd say pretty close to 19 to 20 years now, where we're at here in Dublin. Our two kids are doing phenomenal. Our oldest is about to start college, and our youngest is going to be a sophomore in high school. And yeah, they keep us very busy, very active, and I couldn't be more proud of both of them.
Oh, for sure.
And they're used to the drums and all that. But during, when we were raising them, I continued to play. I always played. Especially when they were young, very young, they would just kind of think the house was falling down on them, when Daddy was playing the drums.
Good for you.
But yeah, they knew that was a huge part of my life, and they would even go down and tinker around with it here and there. But yeah, they knew that was a big part of who I am, and
in the household, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So
yeah.
Did anybody pick it up in your family?
No, nobody really did the music thing. I mean, they both love music. My oldest right now is at the Drake concert. I'm not really familiar with Drake. I've heard a couple of things here and there, but is that nationwide? Yeah, they're just right down the street.
Yeah, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, and then my youngest is going to the Drake show tomorrow night here. He's doing 2 shows, so both of them love music. They're both, thrilled that I'm in music. They think, Daddy's super cool because he plays in a band. He's a drummer, and he does all these shows, and they think it's pretty cool.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. So it makes me feel good, too.
You are the rock star, right?
Yeah, they're my biggest fans, of course. So,
that's awesome,
yeah,
man.
that makes me feel good.
That's cool.
Yeah, and so, I played, I never stopped playing. I was doing a lot of silly recordings. If we're friends on Facebook, you can go to, like, my videos, and you can see videos I was doing, 15 years ago. I would be doing like a Rush song, or even playing some of my other percussion instruments like tablas, and some of the instruments that I've gotten over the years, just to keep it going, and just to stay busy, I guess. I never stopped playing, which was really important to me, and I didn't want the kids to always have silence. And so, you can vacuum the house while they're sleeping. And so drums were a big, loud noise. And so they were used to that in our household.
That's
and
fortunate.
Still am.
That's fortunate.
Yes. Yes, fortunate for me anyways.
So Was it all inside the house, or were you getting out playing with bands from Dublin during that time?
Didn't do a lot of that. On occasion, one of our mutual friends, Mark Naraki, who I love Mark. He's such a good guy.
Mark too.
And Michelle, Mark and Michelle.
Michelle, yep.
I love both of them. Mark would he would invite me to come out and sit in here and there, and so I sat in with Down 12, I believe it was, and that was probably God, I can't even remember how long ago that was. Probably 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, maybe. But Mark was gracious enough to invite me out to do that, and loved Mark for keeping me involved with that kind of stuff. But yeah, so I didn't play a lot, but I was playing at home all day. Not all day, but every single day, really.
Often, yeah. Good for
Every
you.
single day, and just to keep the chops up and to keep learning. And that's always been a big thing for me is the education aspect of this.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. And it shows, man. I mean, definitely. You're a perpetual student of your craft.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you never stop learning music. I mean, there's always something to learn, something to improve. Even, I guess it was before I joined Phoenix Rising, I had just left the band Night Force. I don't know if you've heard of them, but
Sure. Mark, is that Mark Rude?
yes, Mark Rude.
Yeah.
He's brought that back, and I think they're back out doing things. So
I saw him this summer, actually, if I remember
Awesome.
correctly. Yeah.
yeah, I think they did a couple bike nights, and then a
Quaker.
few others. Yeah, Quaker, I believe they did that. I haven't really kept too in touch with them, but after I left that band, I didn't have anything going on. And for a person like me that is really into the education aspect of music and to always learning, always improving, I ended up started taking online lessons from Todd Zuckerman, who's the drummer for Styx. He did a big thing through Drumeo, and I participated in that, and it was a 6-month kind of lesson thing. And he would have lessons every single week, and you could, play along. You could record yourself, send it to him for feedback, and I did so many of those things. And it's oh my God, Todd Zuckerman, he is so underrated. I love Styx and I love their music, but he doesn't really get to show what he can do and what he's capable of. And believe me, he is a monster drummer.
Wow.
One of the best.
Wow.
And you would never know it. But so I did 6 months with him. And even today, I still use a lot of the warm-up exercises before any show and a lot of the philosophy that he taught. So, it's not just about drums, listen to the lyrics. So if the lyrics are talking about something sad or something in that realm, you kind of want to play it in that way.
Yeah, with the emotion.
Exactly. It's all about that emotion. And if you're connecting with the lyrics, then you can connect more with the emotion aspect of the song and really find out what it's trying to say. And so for all the songs that we do now in Phoenix Rising, I pull all the lyrics and I play with the lyrics, so to speak. So, and that's what drummers do.
You're feeling the song.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And drummers set up things, and so set up the next movement or whatnot. And so knowing the lyrics and knowing what is going on in that aspect really, should impact your playing. It's not just, you got to have big ears, as I like to say. You got to hear everything, and especially the lyrics, because really and honestly, most people don't want to hear the drummer back there. They want to hear the chorus, and they want to hear it that way. That's what they hear. They want the hooks, and they don't want a whole bunch of guitar solos or drum solos. And so you again, you have to cater to that, and, going back to what we talked about earlier, if the singer is not feeling it, if they can't do it, absolutely out of the question. It's off the table. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'm an emotional person in general, believe it or not. But when I play, I'm definitely playing from, an inner place. It's definitely a feel. Got to feel the song, feel the vocalist, and and I drive off the beat. So I mean, some of us are out there, David, paying attention to the drummer.
Well, good. That's good to hear.
We are.
Yeah, I used to play to the 2% out in the audience, the musicians out there trying to, impress everybody, and I guess I probably still do. It's just being a proggish drummer kind of guy. That's just my style, but I'm definitely learning to have bigger ears and listen to people and that.
Yeah, good for you. And Phoenix Rising, I think, is probably a great vehicle for you to hone in on that too, because the other people in the band are all, it seems to me, to be great musical communicators.
Oh, everybody is just phenomenal. I mean, again, because there's no egos, everybody is a team player, and in that sense, it is a band. I mean, it isn't the Kelly Rush show. I mean, we are all participating, and we all have, we're all in it for the same reason, and we're all giving our blood, sweat, and tears essentially to the project and to make it better. And yeah, it's going great. We're loving it.
That's so good to hear. And the future's bright there, correct?
It really is.
Okay,
I mean,
That's good to hear.
we're booked all year, and we have
lots of shows.
Lots of shows. We could always do more shows. I mean, but schedules and all that. I mean, we don't play out as much as some of the other bands do, but I mean, that can work.
You're out there.
You're
definitely out there.
We're at least two shows a month, and during the summer months, we're 4 shows a month, and if we could do more, we will. And during the summer, you'll do a lot of the Thursday and Wednesday, bike night kind of shows, and so you may do that on a Thursday or a Wednesday or a Thursday, and then have a show that weekend, and so you can start clicking up those shows really, really quick. Yeah.
What do you reflect on in regard to your musical journeys that make you laugh, that you've encountered perhaps, or what are some of the things that have happened that you have any funny stories back there, David?
I got a couple, I think. I think one thing that always makes me laugh is when I was growing up, I've got 3 older brothers, and so I think when I was 5, 6, 7, 8, they would be playing the music that they like. And at that time, I don't know if you recall, again, I'm dating myself here, but in 1978, the Bee Gees and Peter Frampton put out Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, that musical that was a movie. And as bad as that is, that's how I learned all the Beatles songs, is through those eyes. And it's a very different set of eyes than, the Beatles. So, with the Bee Gees and Peter Frampton, it was a very pop-oriented,
slant.
Yeah. Oh, it was a very pop-oriented slant. And, you've got all these, actors like George Burns. You have Alice Cooper. You have Steve Martin, singing some of these classic Beatles songs. And that's how I thought they were. And then later in life, I heard the real original versions,
No way.
and it just blew my mind. I mean, what a difference in just in feel and the mentality behind that.
Right.
So I like to say that while I grew up with the Beatles music, it was with a very pop flavor to it. And so maybe that's where, I get some of my poppiness that I like, some of the pop music that I can get into. And so I always thought that was pretty interesting. My one brother would have Meatloaf's Bat Outta Hell record, and then my other brother would have that Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And so, what a variety right there.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, one another interesting story I think is when I was in high school. I was in percussion ensemble, and Alan White of Yes, they had just released the album. What is it? 90125. I always want to say 90120, but that's the TV show.
The Yes album, the Yes. Oh,
Well, it was 90125 with Changes, Owner of a Lonely Heart.
yeah, the band.
And in percussion ensemble, we did Changes, that song. Da, 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 da,
Love
da,
that
da.
tune.
Oh, I love that. And I had the drum set part to it, which was so cool. But one of our competing high schools at Lancaster, they had Alan White come in, and they were performing a lot of Yes tunes just with their percussion ensemble. But I went to one of their rehearsals, and then I went to the performance because at that time I was getting into Yes pretty heavily, and Alan was doing like a mini drum clinic, and he had said, are there any questions out there? And I of course raised my hand, and I said, Alan, what is the best way to get into odd time? And he explained that it was through Led Zeppelin's The Ocean. And so he started to count it for me. And so he started counting the riff. So it's da 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 da. And that's in 4. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the second phrase is da 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 da. And that's in 7. And he said, count it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Don't say 7 because you'll add that extra 8th note in there. And instead of playing in 7/8, you're now playing in 4/4. So he explained that to me. And then he said, he played it and made it make perfect sense. And then he said, come up here and play it. And I came up there and just trashed it. Couldn't do it at all. Or, it was, of course. But I was also in front of Alan White.
It's Bonham.
Well, right. And so he explained that was the best song to really start getting in touch with odd time, just because of the counting, the way that you count it. And that really stuck with me.
It's amazing. Yeah,
so I got that little drum lesson from him back in like 1988 or something like that.
That's
88,
cool.
89.
Very cool.
Yeah. And I guess let me think of. I have another story. This is cool too. Back in Athens, after the Caesar's Palace gig, and I'm going to school and kind of doing that thing. A friend of a friend who was also in the lighting union in Ohio, who would do shows and stuff around the state, he needed a ride to Cleveland to go to a Rush show. And, again, it was a friend of a friend, and apparently he was bringing some party favors up for the roadies and the band and stuff, and he needed a ride. And I provided a ride, and I was able to get pretty much backstage and did all that. So, and I still have my backstage pass, but I never got to meet the boys. I never got to meet my idols, which is fine, but was all backstage, was on the buses, got a tour of the stage, couldn't touch anything, but and this was like in 96, and they're really, we weren't using cell phones very much at that time at all. I think they were mostly, if you had one, it was a flip. Even if you had one. I don't even think they were around then. Maybe not.
Maybe not in, as they are now.
Yeah. Oh, nothing like it is now. But yeah. So we went up there, and was backstage, got the tour and everything. And then during intermission, this was the Test for Echo tour, and this is where they played 2112 its entirety right before intermission. And so at intermission, I ran to the stage, and Larry Allen was Neil Peart's drum tech. I had already been hanging out with him before the show, and so he gave me Neil's sticks right after playing the full 2112.
Man.
What an amazing day that was.
Do you still have those sticks somewhere?
No, somebody stole those back in Athens. Somebody stole the sticks, but thankfully I do have the backstage pass, and that is with some of my.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's with some of my memorabilia. But yeah, that was an amazing experience.
That's really cool.
Yeah, to see everything backstage, to see how they do the production, and just the intensity of that whole
Can you
situation.
imagine?
Yeah, I wish I could have done it, every tour or something.
For sure.
But yeah, for me, Rush was a huge influence on me. Yeah, I think I first heard them actually going from seventh grade into, I think it was seventh grade. Yeah, no, it was going from eighth grade into my freshman year of high school when I was starting band camp. So I wasn't even a full freshman yet. And some of our mutual friends, Michael Shirey, our phenomenal photographer, we go back way back there, and he's from Athens as well as his family. And Michael was a grade above me, and he was in marching band too. And we were in the cymbal. We were the cymbal players my freshman year. But during band camp, when we were back in the dorms, they were playing Exit Stage Left from Rush's Exit Stage Left, and they were playing Neil's drum solo there. And I just, I was blown away. And from that moment on, I became a student of Rush and just studied everything I could, learned their music as much as I could, would get their tabs just to try to figure out some of the...
What in the heck is he doing?
Yeah. What is Neil doing? What is going on here? And really studied that when I should have been studying, college.
Early Civ.
Yeah, for sure. But I was studying Rush and their craziness.
And you still can, and you still do.
I still do. Yeah,
That's awesome, man.
Rush is it for me. They do it for me.
Yeah, and Phoenix Rising carries that torch in Columbus, Ohio.
Yes.
Does it well.
We play a lot of great stuff that I'm in love with. Rush, Tool, a lot of the heavier stuff that we've been doing lately is just so much fun to play, and we enjoy it so much. And
I think the venues enjoy it too. The people that are there love the show. The show's great.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah.
And it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Visually, as well as the sonic aspect or the music aspect of it. And they're covers. But are you guys writing any original music?
We don't have any original music, and I don't know if we're really going to go down that road. We really enjoy the covers and going that route. And to be honest, this is really
That's the market for live music.
Well, yeah. And when you're an original band, you tend to share the stage with 4 or 5 other bands. Everybody's sharing gear, and it's
It's messy.
You get a half hour, 45 minutes, and it's not really fulfilling. When we do a show, it's a 4-hour show, and I get to play my heart out. I get to play every freaking thing I can possibly play in that 4 hours. And at the end of the night, I'm absolutely exhausted, but I'm satisfied, or I'm fulfilled. It's hard to explain. I can get everything out of me.
Yep, and you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see you coming off that stage, and at the end of the night, you're wired, but you can tell you're spent. You've left it on the stage.
Yeah, and I believe that 100%. And my old friend Derek Whitlatch will tell you, even from when we were in middle school, cutting our teeth, I would say, every show is like Madison Square Garden, and you have to treat it that way. I have to treat it like this is going to be my last performance, and it's Madison Square Garden, and I have to give it everything I got, no matter what. And so I try to make every single show, I try to play in that spirit for every show.
Yep. And that's so awesome, man.
Oh, thank you.
And I can't thank you again for making the time to make episode number 54 of Columbus Local Podcast what it was this evening.
Yeah, 54.
Yes, sir. Well, thanks again. I appreciate it, David.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Len. And what a great setup you got. And I'm loving all your podcasts. And I'm learning so much about a lot of the amazing musicians that are here in town, and some that I've never even heard of, and some friends that I'm learning a lot more about, you
That's
know?
so cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Thank you
I'm
for
glad that
doing
that's happening.
this.
And thank you all for listening. It's episode number 54. David Blosser, drummer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.